going on, you guys? This is VM Video Master here. And today, it is that time again. It is time for Eerie Encounter, where I watch some of the most creepiest and most terrifying haunted videos I can find on YouTube, no matter how weird they are. But today, I thought I would do something different. Today, I'm going to be watching most creepiest unsolved mysteries from small and quiet towns across the US. Now, this video comes from a YouTube channel called Scariest Mysteries, as you can see. Now, at the end of this video, let me know in the comments below if you've heard of any of these unsolved mysteries, or if you live where any of these unsolved mysteries are. Let's begin.
Small towns and quiet villages, these are the places people reside in for safe and peaceful living. Where crime knows no bounds, and sometimes the most violent acts happen in the least likely of places. Here are 5 creepy unsolved murders in quiet towns. Number 5. Tube sock killings. The tube sock killings happened in the remote area of Lewis and Pierce County in the small community of Mineral, Washington. It was December 12th of 1985, and 36-year-old Mike Reamer left home to check on the animal traps he had set around the Nisqually River. Reamer had always loved the woods, even though he worked as a roofer during most months. Every winter, he would set traps around the river trying to capture minks, coyotes, and muskrats so that he could sell the furs to help supplement his income. On that day, he took his longtime girlfriend, Diana Robertson, and their young daughter, Crystal, with him, but all 3 would never return home again. That evening, 2-year-old Crystal was found outside the entrance of a local Kmart, a bit dazed but otherwise unhurt. And 2 days later, her grandmother saw her photo on the local news and went to pick her up. When she asked her granddaughter where her mommy was, the little girl only managed to reply, "Mommy was in the trees." A search and rescue operation was launched, hoping to find out what happened to the parents. It would be just over 2 months after the incident, on February 18th of '86, when Diana's body was found half buried in the snow, with a tube sock wrapped tightly around her neck. It was near Mike's '82 Plymouth truck, and on the dashboard was a manila envelope with the words, "I love you, Diana," supposedly written in Mike's handwriting. During the autopsy, it was discovered Diana had been stabbed 17 times. Police suspected the boyfriend since he was still missing. And it wouldn't be until 2011, when a partial piece of Mike's skull was found, that police began to think otherwise. Although he was considered a suspect for years, it's now believed that Mike was also a victim of foul play, and that perhaps the killer might still be on the loose. What's most bizarre is that 4 months before their disappearance, another couple, Stephen Harkins, who was 27, and 47-year-old Ruth Cooper, were also reported missing. The two had gone camping for the weekend near Toole Lake in Pierce County, right near where Reamer had set his traps. When they didn't come home, they were reported missing, and 4 days later, Harkins' body was found still inside his sleeping bag. He'd been shot in the head, along with their dog, who was found nearby. After 2 months, Cooper's skull was discovered, and soon after that, her body and purse were also found. Cooper had been decapitated, and her remains were 1.5 miles away from that of Harkins. The autopsy showed she had died from a gunshot wound to the abdomen, but she had suffered homicidal violence prior to it, and also had a tube sock around her neck. Today, though, the murders of Cooper, Harkin, Reamer, and Robertson still remain a mystery. Nobody knows why they were murdered or who did it, and it's more than likely it'll stay that way. Number 4.
So what do you guys think? Do you think there was a reason for all these tube sock killings? Or was it just like one of those slashings that most people do for just because they snapped? To me, I think there was a reason these couples were killed. Like, maybe the person who was doing it just mentally snapped, you know? Or maybe there was something with these couples that they had an issue with. You know, maybe it was someone in their families who did it. Like, the one who killed the couple, killed the husband with the red hair. Maybe it was somebody who was a friend of theirs. Just a thought. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this one.
Tina's tires. On June 24th of 1994, Tina Marcotti found herself stranded on the road with a flat tire. She'd been a late shift worker for Black Hills Molding, a wood processing plant in Rapid City, South Dakota. With nowhere to go, she called her friend Vicky and asked to be picked up. However, while on the phone, Tina noticed a car driving up and told her friend she didn't need to come anymore because a coworker, Tom Cuter, would be giving her a ride. She thanked Vicky, hung up the phone, and that was the last time anyone would hear from her. The next day, Patrick, Tina's boyfriend, and Tom both showed up at Vicky's place. Vicky mentioned in the phone call and that Tina had mentioned a Tom from work. Although Tom initially denied it, he eventually said that he was the only Tom at the workplace, but he never admitted to giving Tina a lift. And Patrick then asked if he and Tina were having an affair of some sort, to which he passively denied. When police found Tina's car and checked the tires, they noticed it wasn't a regular flat tire, but instead, it had been deliberately slashed, indicating foul play and the possibility of a murder. And Tom voluntarily showed up for questioning, but again, denied he ever saw Tina that night. He said that he was at a softball game all evening, took a friend home, and fixed his car under a streetlight for several hours before going home at around 3:30 a.m. And Tom's wife Nancy confirmed he did come home at that hour, but noticed he immediately washed his softball uniform and shoelaces. After 3 days, police paid Tom a visit at work, saying they found traces of blood inside his vehicle and would be testing it against Tina's blood. The next day at 9 a.m. during the shift change, incoming workers found Tom's head crushed by the rear wheel of his own forklift. Police believe he did it on purpose, as an act of desperation after realizing that he would be linked to Tina's disappearance. And they believe that he intentionally overloaded his vehicle with lumber and then took it up an incline before jumping out into its path. And this would make it look like an accident and wouldn't hamper any insurance claims made by his family. However, his wife actually believes that he was murdered. In 1996, approximately 16 months after she went missing, Tina's body was found underneath a woodpile in the lumberyard where Tom used to work at the time. She was discovered to have died from blunt force trauma, and she may have been dumped there after being killed. Police believe it was Tom that murdered her and now consider the case closed. Number 3, Grant.
Okay, now that one was kind of weird. I mean, so the girl was stuck at night, and then she calls her friend saying that she needs a ride, but then she runs into Tom, saying, "Oh, never mind, I'm gonna get a ride from Tom." But then the next morning he says he never saw her and she winds up dead. Now, that is kind of weird, and then he suddenly is killed. So to me, I think he murdered her, put her body in that pile of wood, and then killed himself. Because he did not want to end up in jail and live with the guilt. That's what I think happened. Now, if you've heard this one, let me know in the comments below what you think. If you think I'm right, you think something else, let me know.
Grand Prairie Killings. Despite being a small size, the town of Grand Prairie has been earning a reputation as one of Canada's most dangerous places for some time. Robbery is rampant, shootouts common, and crime steadily increasing. Thieves and criminals don't even wait for the cover of dark to do their deeds anymore. A rampant and constant slew of murders around the area has alarmed locals and law enforcement alike. Over the past century, this place has had its share of mysterious killings. For instance, there was the case of the 1918 mass murder where 6 immigrants were killed without anyone ever being arrested. All 6 men were found dead. Some were shot in the head and others stabbed. To this day, no one knows who killed the men or why. It remains one of Canada's biggest unsolved murders. Meanwhile, the Grand Prairie area is also believed to be a serial killer's hunting ground. As of August of 2016 and starting roughly around 1987, dozens of women, mostly Aboriginal, have gone missing and then subsequently found murdered. Most of their bodies were then dumped in the outskirts and rural areas, including Grand Prairie. In the winter of 1987, the remains of 3 mutilated women were found, just days apart from one another. A couple years later, another round of remains were found, and then another. Similar to the situation in the Highway of Tears in British Columbia, the number of women found missing or murdered has soared throughout the years. The decomposed remains were often discovered months and even years after being killed, making crucial evidence impossible to find and identification difficult to trace. One of the more recent remains found in the Grand Prairie area was in 2011, and they were those of 19-year-old Renee Gunning and 16-year-old Crystal Knott. The two were last seen hanging out at the West Edmonton Mall along with 2 friends 6 years earlier. At some point, the friends left for a party while Crystal and Renee stayed behind. It would be the last time the girls were seen alive. Their skulls were found by some people camping in the area. The girls disappeared just 1 month after 13-year-old Nina Korpat was lured from the West Edmonton Mall, assaulted, and killed by 5 people on a golf course. And Project CARE, with a K, handled the investigation, even though the girls were not suspected of being prostitutes, but instead because of the suspicious circumstances of their disappearance. In 2003, Project CARE was established to help collect identifying information for night workers in the area. It's estimated that over 1,200 women, mostly in high-risk lifestyles, have registered with the system of CARE. Some of the victims who have done so were also identified thanks to the information collected by the program. Number 2. Gregory Villman. On October 16th of 1984, 4-year-old Gregory Villman was playing in front of his house. The family lived in Vosges, a mountainous area found in the eastern portion of France, right near the German border. And everything seemed well, but at around 5 p.m., Gregory's uncle received a disturbing call. A mysterious voice on the other end of the line said he had kidnapped the little boy, bound and drowned him in the Boulogne River. Of course, worried, the family called police when they couldn't find their little boy. And true to what the caller said, they found young Gregory drowned in that river. His hands and legs had been bound by a cord. A woolen cap had been pulled over his face. The day after, Gregory's father, Jean-Marie, received an anonymous letter stating, "I hope you die of grief, boss. Your money can't give you back your son. Here is my revenge." No one could identify the caller or trace the letter sender. For 4 years after Gregory's death, letters and calls from the supposed killer haunted the Villmans. They even recorded some of these calls, but they always led to a dead end. And as for suspects, there were a few. The first was Jean-Marie's cousin, Bernard LaRoche. LaRoche's teenage sister-in-law testified that she saw him with Gregory that day, and handwriting experts compared his writing with that of the killer's letters and found similarities. Later on, the witness recanted her testimony, however, saying she was coerced by the police to say it was Bernard. A judge later set Bernard free, and on that same day, Jean-Marie proclaimed in front of the media that he would kill his cousin dead. And true to his word, he later shot his cousin while he was on his way to work. Jean-Marie served 5 years in prison for the crime, and after Bernard's death, the Crow, which was the name given by the anonymous caller and sender, sent another letter to Jean-Marie's parents. And this has many people believing that Bernard was innocent, in fact, and that the killer was still out there. While Jean-Marie was serving time in jail, his wife, Christine, was next accused of being the killer, as several witnesses claimed seeing her at the post office that day, and that her handwriting also seemed to have similarities with that of the Crow. The police detained her in December of '86, but eventually she was completely exonerated of any charges. Over the years, countless rounds of DNA testing, as well as handwriting and voice analysis, have been conducted on the evidence available, but with inconclusive results. This included DNA testing done on the stamp used in the letter in 2000. The quiet town of Vosges was once a picturesque place to see, but now for many, it only conjures up images and memories of the unsolved murder of little Gregory Villman. Number 1. Below Store Murders. With a population of only 4,000 people, Windsor, North Carolina is considered a sleepy, small town. But that would forever change on June 6, 1993. It was dusk and the Below store closed early. And 3 of the store employees were wrapping up the day's work, and 3 cleaning crew members arrived to help strip the floors. And what the 6 of them didn't know was that they weren't the only ones inside that store. At about 6:30 p.m., the suspect showed himself. At gunpoint, he bound and tied up the victims in pairs using duct tape. He then led them to the back room, stacked them on top of each other, before he proceeded to shoot them. Police believe he may have done this thinking he could save bullets by shooting through the victims. However, he realized that there were 2 people who were not wounded with this initial attack and had to change his plan. He then took a large knife from the store, and when one victim tried to get away, he was hacked by the killer, causing several wounds to his throat. The attack was so violent, in fact, that the knife even broke off in the victim's back, where it remained lodged. After he had finished his deed, the killer simply slipped out of the store and went on his merry way. One of the victims, though, managed to crawl to the front area and call 911. In the end, 3 people died, 2 were critically injured, and 1, miraculously, was left unscathed. The victims described the killer as a black male with a medium complexion. He stood around 6 foot to 6'2" and weighed around 170 pounds. He had a slender build with a military-type haircut, slanted eyes, and his nose looked like it may have been broken before. Soon after the crime, drifters and others were checked, but no one was able to point to or capture the culprit. So to this day, a $30,000 reward still stands for any information leading to the arrest of the Below store killer. So there were 5 creepy unsolved murders and
So what do you guys think? Especially about the little boy. Do you think that Jean-Marie was innocent, or do you think he was covering for somebody? Do you think Jean-Marie really killed the little boy, drowned him in the river, or do you think someone else did it and he was just covering for them? Now that story is kind of suspicious. I mean, that really gets you thinking. What really happened to Jean-Marie? Did he cover for somebody? Was all that evidence pointed to him? Like, was he covering for somebody, or was he framed? That's what you gotta remember. Now, that's the thing, you guys. Back in the 90s, it was easy to kill somebody, and you could frame it on somebody else. Like, you could go into somebody's house and put their hands on a knife, and then you got the murder weapon. That's what you gotta remember. If you watch Unsolved Mysteries from 1980s, you can see it was easy to frame somebody. But anyway, you guys, that was 5 unsolved mysteries from small and quiet towns. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video and share this video with somebody who enjoys this kind of thing, you know? And also, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And also, if most of you, you know, do watch my videos and this is your first time watching, here is a little update. I just started my own podcast on Podbean. I will put the description in the comments below. I just started my own podcast on Podbean. It's called Scare Tales. I upload every Tuesday and Sunday, but I'm gonna have to change it because, you know, I just started a new job, so it's gonna have to be Wednesdays and Sundays. Just let you know. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and like I always say, I will see you